Welcome to Counselor's Corner. I'm Stacy Hawkins. The purpose of Counselor's Corner is to give you the tools you need to maximize your mental and emotional well-being and nurture your relationships. Many of us have heard the term boundaries, and we have some idea that boundaries are important. But what does that really mean? General Counselor Dana Denson joins us to explain. Thanks for joining us, Dana.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So, what are boundaries really?
Well, boundaries are expectations and needs that help you feel safe within yourself as well as within your relationships.
Why is setting good boundaries important, and how does that contribute to our health and our relationships?
Well, with setting healthy boundaries, it is important to sustain our mental health and emotional health. By setting healthy boundaries, you are respecting yourself, practicing good self-care, and then in turn, it gives others an example of how we want to be treated.
Can you give us some examples of some healthy and unhealthy boundaries?
Sure. So with healthy boundaries, setting clear expectations or limits is definitely a boundary, as well as saying no to others whenever you do not feel like doing something. Also, listening to your own opinion. Unhealthy boundaries would be things like people pleasing, accepting being mistreated, oversharing, or codependency. Those are unhealthy boundaries.
How do we go about setting boundaries?
Well, I set boundaries through communication and actions. I state clearly my expectations and my limits. I also model my expectations through actions. So I'll give you an example. If I plan a self-care day for myself, I let everyone know in advance that this is my day. I am not accepting any text messages or phone calls. Those things will be returned within 24 hours. And I would say, what if a friend reaches out to me randomly and say, hey, can you help me with moving? I can tell them honestly that at this time, I'm not able to assist. I've already set the day out for myself. And I don't feel bad or I don't feel obligated about not being able to help because I clearly stated my expectations in the beginning and everyone knew about it.
If you haven't had boundaries with a person, it sounds like setting them could generate some reactions. What are some of the common reactions to setting boundaries, and what are some constructive ways to handle that?
Well, actually, you'll be surprised that acceptance is one of the common responses to setting healthy boundaries. People are just willing to be respectful when you set clear expectations up front and they're stated clearly within reason. Others are things like questioning you or getting defensive, sometimes even ghosting you. And I would say just one thing to remember is that we're not responsible for others' actions or reactions, only our own. Making sure that you are being assertive when you're communicating with others could generate a more accepting response. And also just knowledge that, again, we cannot control someone's actions or reactions. So just making sure that you state what you want to say clearly, being straightforward, making sure that you're confident when you set your limits and boundaries. And then I'll give an example. One thing you can say if you just can't think of anything else to say is simply, I'm doing this for me. So when you're trying to set that boundary and they're giving that pushback, you can simply say, I'm doing this for me.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much for joining us, Dana.
Of course, no problem. Thank you for having me again. I'm glad to be here.
Now, if you'd like more information about this or other mental health topics, as well as learning about all the services provided by the counseling department, visit hccs.edu/counseling. For Counselor's Corner, I'm Stacy Hawkins.